Book 33 of 2019 was Kick Ass by Mel Robbins. If you've never heard of Mel Robbins, like, she's amazing. Like, you need to kind of like figure out who she is and watch some videos on her. She's kind of like a speaker, and she does lots of YouTube videos. She's famous for the 5 second rule, which is a book in itself if you want to find out more about it. It's kind of almost like challenging that when you try and make a decision and you give yourself 5 seconds, five, four, three, two, one, and then you just do it. Because if you hesitate more than that, you won't get it done. So, for example, when you wake up in the morning and you are trying to get out of bed, give yourself 5 seconds and then get up. But this book is not about that, because that kind of put me off a little bit of the book. The reason why I didn't get this one sooner was because I thought it might be like that, and I'd already listened to a lot of videos that she does. So I kind of thought it might be similar, so I didn't bother with that actual book. But this one is completely different. This is not actually technically a book. It's more of an audio book. It's an Audible original. But I think it would be really good as a book anyway. And what it is it's Mel Robbins coaching, 5 or 6 people, 5 or 6 or 7 people. Maybe it's 8 people now I've said that. Yeah, it is 8 people as well. It's because the other one that I'm going to talk about later is a bit shorter. But yes, she's coaching 8 people, and each of them have got something which is stopping them from progressing in life. Something that's holding them back that they don't realise is holding them back. So they're having a coaching session with Mel. Now, my background in psychology, and I have learnt a lot about clinical psych and counselling psych and how therapy is done in various different kind of disciplines like humanistic, cognitive, psychodynamic, whatever. What's really, really interesting about the way Mel Robbins coaches is that she is kind of coaching in a therapy kind of way. Like, for anyone who's knowledgeable about therapy or has experienced therapy, it's like listening to a therapy session. Like books that are on therapy that, where you have a book of a therapist describing a therapy session. It's very similar to that, and it's nice because it's like, it's authentic. It's not put on for the purposes of the show. Like, the interaction, the dialogue between Mel Robbins and the person she's coaching is very open and very kind of like the person is describing what's going on in their life, and Mel Robbins is asking questions that get the person to kind of understand what the issue is. Mel Robbins says that it's very, very easy for an outsider looking at someone's life to be like, yeah, that's what the issue is. But when you are that person, you're in it, you can't see it, which is why it's really, really important to have therapy or to have a relationship with someone where you can have that kind of open dialogue with someone, because they will be able to help you see, they'll be the mirror to help you see your own patterns and behaviour, and then you can change it. What I found really, really interesting was that by listening to it, I was mindful of my own behaviour and my own things that I do that I wish I didn't do, and I don't know why I do them, and what to do kind of about them. I think what was interesting about listening to this was that, we've all got reasons for why we are the way that we are. A time in our life, something happened to us, and our strategy was to behave in that way, and it worked for us, and it works for a time, and then we start to then become neurotic because it's not working for us anymore, and because we need to find new strategies and new ways of dealing with things so that, we're not in that same kind of pattern, because it kept us safe when we were younger, when we didn't know what to do, whereas when you're older it's not working the same way, so you become kind of like, mindful of it. In this one, I'm just looking because I've just done a review on the other one and I don't want to mix them up. So the people in this one are struggling with their weight. So there's a girl that is eating quite a lot, and she's putting weight on, and she doesn't want to do that, but her diets aren't working. There's someone who is procrastinating on a lot of things. I don't know about you, but I'm a procrastinator. I put things off, and then when they're done, like, I feel so much better. I'm like, why didn't I do that before? Like, why have I been putting it off for so long? Like, and it's to do with fear. It's to do with, things that have happened to us in the past that made us feel better to put things off. Another one was relationships with other people, self-love, and just basically just general things in life that you're kind of struggling with. And it was just really nice as well to kind of hear that there's lots of people that have issues with themselves and with their life and with different aspects of their life that you wouldn't be aware of if you were to meet them, because a lot of these things are, you know, outwardly you can't tell these things about these people, but inwardly this is what they're struggling with, these are the issues that they have. And you know, when you hear someone else's problems, you realise like everyone has problems, everyone has things that they are dealing with that they've got to work on that affect the way that they behave. And it makes you kind of think that we should really be compassionate with each other, and we should really be mindful that someone's outward behaviour is not necessarily an indication of what they're like as a person. That actually it's a lot deeper than that. You know, they might be behaving in ways that even they don't understand and that they don't realise because they're in this pattern all the time, and you know they don't pick up on it themselves. And so I'd recommend it as a listen because it makes you think like, what am I doing? You know, I think when you get to a certain age, you realise that you keep repeating the same mistake and you keep sabotaging yourself in the same way, and you, doesn't matter how hard you try to avoid doing it, you still do it. And it's until you kind of unpack where it's coming from and what happened to you to make you behave in that way that you can then start to change it. And like every time you are about to go into that situation and behave like that, to change it slightly. So an example would be, and like say like as a child you learn to I don't know if it's in this one actually, I think it's in the other one, but I'm going to say it anyway and I'll just repeat it in my other one. If you spoke up as a child and you got ridiculed or you got shouted at or, you know, physically beaten or something, then you learn as a child very quickly that in order to keep yourself safe and in order to keep yourself you know, comfortable, that it was easier if you didn't say anything and you kept everything to yourself. And so what you tend to do is you tend to push your feelings down, and that your feelings don't matter, and that you're always mindful of other people's feelings and not wanting to upset anybody else, because that keeps you safe. So as an adult, when you grow up and you're in a situation where you feel threatened and uncomfortable, your automatic reaction is to put down your feelings and opinions and not speak up and to stay quiet. And what Mel Robbins is saying is like, you need to address that. Every time that you feel that and you feel that happening, you know, it describes a woman who she feels emotional and wants to cry every time she has to speak her truth. And I resonate with that a lot. Like I get that. Like when I need to say something that's on my mind that I feel deeply about, I can't do it unless I feel safe, and I feel like I'm going to cry. And every time I talk about myself, I feel like I'm going to cry. And it's odd. It's like, why is that? And it's because as a child, you're so used to pushing it down and pushing it down so that you don't say anything, and that people, you know, because people will attack you otherwise. So, you know, as an adult, you have to kind of say a little bit, not your full bit, but push yourself to say a little bit, and then eventually you'll say a bit more and you'll say a bit more, and you've got to kind of do that to get over it. So it's kind of good in that way. It makes you, you know, realise things that you're doing as a person that are having a detriment to you, that are holding you back, that actually you need to address so that you can kick ass and you can be amazing and you can do everything that you want to do. So yeah, I definitely recommend it. It was a really, really good audiobook, and Mel Robbins is amazing anyway. Like she's, you know, I think what's really good about her is she's always like non-judgmental. She's always compassionate and saying like, you know, I used to be like this when I was younger, I used to do this and I used to do this. And so she makes you feel like, yeah, it's quite normal to be the way that you are, and it's quite normal to have to work on things. Like nobody's perfect, everyone's got things about them, you know, baggage from the past that's affecting them in their everyday life and that they need to be mindful of and address. So it helps you do that. So yeah, definitely recommend it.